Yo, welcome to another Untimely review. This actually wasn't supposed to be the movie that I was going to review this week. I was going to review Red Tails as suggested by the homie Moy. However, I thought that Brandon T. Jackson was in that movie, and after a quick IMDb search, I was wrong. But then for some reason I was like, man, I really want to watch a Brandon T. Jackson movie. And only one movie came to mind. Tropic Thunder. But then I remembered the one scene that really put Brandon Thelonious Jackson on my radar. And that scene is in Lottery Ticket, which also has the GOAT. So that's what we're reviewing today. Red Tails and Tropic Thunder reviews coming soon. Hopefully. Anyway, let's get right into the story. So major spoilers for Lil Romeo's Biggest Rivals movie about living in the hood. This movie starts with the best opening of any movie I've reviewed yet, because in the first 20 seconds we learned all we need to know about our main character. His name's Kevin and he works at Foot Locker. Yo, filmmakers, this is that good shit. Keep it up. We get a quick premise set up from the Exposition News Network, the objectification of a woman. This lady says she'd go ski diving if she'd won the $370 million lotto. I checked, that's not a real thing. And we get a bunch of other people saying what they do with the money, but they're not as interesting as ski diving. We just get some more B-roll shots until the homie BTJ runs up in Miss Carson's house, which is where Kevin is staying at. So far he's great until he calls women smuts, which I've never heard before, but I appreciate the diverse vocab. Still a little rude though. Then he tries to get Kevin to let him wear his shoes. We find out that Miss Carson is Kevin's grandma and she gives Kevin her numbers to play in the lottery. BTJ then brings up a valid point about Miss Carson's dream and him and Kevin dip out. Then we see the man himself, Charlie Murphy, playing a dude named Samaj. Don't even need to see the rest of his scenes to know he's the best part of the movie. We also find out that BTJ's character is named Benny. Kevin then gets a mission from this hand in the ground, and they go pick up their friend Stacy. And hey, it's the homie Leslie Jones. I know she was in this movie. This shit really is star-studded. And she hits this dude for making creepy jokes. But then we get some more objectification, so I'm not really sure what this movie is trying to say. Kevin tries to spit some gay matter and is so fucking terrible at it that I'm concerned for his well-being. Her boyfriend drives up, stunts dumb hard by throwing his own do-rags at him and then peels off. Then we see the dude that Samaj warned them about, Lorenzo, and he is a legit scary dude and fucking squeezes a firm filled with air basketball till it pops.
Oh my god.
I don't know how many PSIs bro was putting out to do this, but it was far too many. Before the group can get away, Lorenzo tells Kevin to give him and his boys 3 pairs of new Jordans each, which is just asking for a lot, and Benny tells him that Kevin's got them. Now, under normal circumstances, I would think that Benny is a dickhead and not a good friend, but this dude's got muscles and a toothpick in his mouth, so I feel him. Once they do finally get away, we find out that Kevin wants to go to design school but doesn't have the money for it. When Kevin makes it to Foot Locker, his omnipotent and dickhead manager docks his pay because he's late. That's understandable, but the way he went about it just irks.
I like it, cut G.
Anyway, Kevin explains to this guy why these shoes cost $5 grand, and oh no, Lorenzo popped up at the Foot Locker looking for his shoes. Then we see that Lorenzo is at least a B-level villain because he lulls Kevin in and goes back to his evil self. Some real psychological warfare going on. But Kevin left the tags on the boxes, so when they try to leave, the alarms go off, the cops come, and Kevin tells them that Lorenzo is stealing the shoes. And because of this incident, Kevin's manager fires him. We see that Stacy is trying to give him some support with a little extra love. But Kevin doesn't get what's going on because he's still upset about the death threats and him being fired. After they're done eating, Kevin goes to play his grandma's numbers, and yo, T-Pain is in this movie too? That's crazy. But this character has a racist comment, so fuck, I can't actually enjoy this like I want to. While ringing Kevin up, he gets him to play the lotto too with some numbers he got off of a fortune cookie, so you know them shits are fire. When he gets back to his gated community, everyone thinks that he snitched on Lorenzo to the cops, which he kinda did, but snitching in the black community can get you fucked up, so this isn't a good look for him, so he just goes home and goes to sleep. When the lotto drawing happens that night, we see that Miss Carson didn't win, but the next morning we see that the numbers that Kevin played are the winning numbers. Then when Miss Carson tries to call somebody to tell them that they won, grandmas always want to share somebody's business, Kevin stops her and she pouts, which I actually think is pretty cute. Kevin and Benny then go back down to T-Pain's shop to get some info on how to turn the ticket in, because I guess even in 2010, people didn't know that they could just Google whatever they wanted to. They find out that the place they need to go to is downtown and take the bus to get there. And even though the bus is packed with people, this is the time that Kevin thinks is appropriate to tell Benny that he won the lottery. Luckily, he stops him from wilding out too much and they get to the ticket place. But then they find out that it's closed for the 4th of July, even though it's July 2nd and it's a Friday, and they should be observing the 4th and 5th, so Monday should be closed, and this dude even says that they'll be open on Tuesday. All I'm saying is that this doesn't seem to match up and my immersion is broken. While Benny and Kevin are still away, Samaj drops by Miss Carson's house and she's zooted, so she spills the beans to the local gossiper, so now everyone's at Miss Carson's house trying to weasel some money out of Kevin. This guy actually has a solid idea about making a massage toilet, and yes, I did look that up, and they are expensive. But you're also not going to be buying toilets that often either, so it might be a good deal. Anyway, Kevin, understandably, gets overwhelmed and dips out, and the whole neighborhood chases him until he hides out in Benny's house. After Kevin gets some rest, Benny tells him his great plan to use the Underground Railroad to get out the hood and make a mixtape of the remixes of Negro spirituals that they'll be singing along the way. Based off of how conspiracy theory-y his room is, I think that's the best plan he could have came up with. Kevin's like, no, we need something simple, and they decide on acting like the ticket is fake. Okay, solid. We get a joke about Kim Kardashian and Steve Harvey's non-existent hairline, and we find out that Samaj is just James backwards. Wow, the lore is so rich in this world. Yo, is that KD in the crowd? Anyway, once Kevin, no, not that one, sees how everyone's loving him, he decides that he's going to keep the love flowing and not act like he made the whole thing up. When Stacy comes around, she gives him the idea of starting a shoe company, and they're having a really good conversation, and then this, who gave my guy Kevin doggy doo-doo, comes to talk to him, and Stacy is just not feeling it, rightfully so. And then this dude Kevin is letting it just slide because she got them things and her eyes are smoky. Disappointed, but I'm not surprised. And even when Stacy tries to bring some reasoning to the convo, everyone calls her jealous. Everybody is trashing the scene. Stacy is the best girl. Then, let me tell you how corny this fucking man Kevin is. He plans to take out that to the Waffle House. Now, I'm not shitting on Waffle House. I've heard good things, and I'm sure the waffles are scrumptious. But that should not be the, ooh, I'm gonna spoil this girl type of place to take her. Kevin is a certified cornball at this point. Because that was such a terrible fucking plan, his homies tell him about this fancy place. But Kevin is still broke, so one of the homies tell him that he can get some money really quickly. Hey, it's Terry Crews, who has been making comments that I don't agree with lately, so let's move on. He takes Kevin and Benny to see Keith David. I was joking about this movie being star-studded before. I mean, yeah, it technically is. But like, Keith David? Keith David does not get the respect he deserves on just his voice alone. He's the Flame King. He's Spawn. He was in The Thing. He's the Arbiter, bro. He narrated the fucking Bible. Keith David is a G, and this dude is playing a character named Sweet Tea. Classic. Oh man, Sweet Tea Appreciation Day is gonna be August 15th from now on. Alright, so Sweet Tea gives Kevin $100 grand as a business loan. Then him and Cruz have a private conversation 2 feet from Kevin and Benny, and Sweet Tea makes Cruz drive Kevin and the homies around. Then we get a buying montage that should have been scored with Ride With Me by Nelly, but it's whatever, I guess. Once the montage is done, Kevin goes to buy those $5 grand shoes and really the entire store, and when it's time for Kevin's date, he brings the homies. Super weird. But Stacy sees and is pretty upset about it, and I don't blame her. Then when we get to the restaurant, says that LeBron James brought her to this restaurant before, and that she and Jay-Z used to talk. Now, there's a whole bunch of issues with that I won't get into, but personally, I would not be continuing to dine at this establishment if I were Kevin. Benny and Cruz are doing the most. Says that Bill Cosby has taken her to this place before, and even before finding out that he was nasty, this should have been a crazy red flag. Bill Cosby was 73 in 2010. What was doing with bro? And Kevin go back to her house to do some late night canoodling. And because Kevin is trying to be safe, she gets mad, and although Kevin was trying to do the right thing for him, he's still stupid, and taking him home to get money from him comes as a big revelation to him. She kicks him out, and we find out that the mysterious hand from earlier is Ice Cube. God, this movie keeps its surprises coming. I actually remembered him being in this movie before, so it wasn't actually a shock to me. Cube tells him his life story. This is what we would call the moral center of the movie. Life is gonna hit you hard, but you have to get back up, and you gotta be the change you wanna see. That's cool. Doesn't really apply to Kevin right now at the moment, but that's cool. The next day, it's Sunday, which means church! Mike Epps! Alright, I genuinely need to know if there's another movie like this with a cast this packed, because this shit is amazing. But uh-oh, the church service is cut short when Lorenzo gets out of jail, even though he tried to steal like several $100s worth of shoes like 3 days ago, and he's seeking retribution. So Kevin's running, stopped before he even gets 10 feet from the church, but Cruz saves him for like 3 seconds because Lorenzo is really about it and beats Cruz with the butt of a gun while Kevin runs away. They're running all throughout the city and it's not filmed great, but Kevin eventually does get away. And now we're at the best single scene in the movie. The entire reason why I even wanted to watch this again. Now, I don't know why this dramatic ass scene is even in this movie, and honestly, watching it now, it feels like I'm watching a completely different movie, but this shit is so beautiful, man. You feel exactly what both characters are going through. The emotion is the most genuine it has been throughout this entire thing, and while, again, it is drastically different from the past hour, but it is so worth it. Once Brandon T. Jackson gets his shit off, Kevin goes to talk to Stacy about what just happened. She tells him that he was in the wrong, then we get a weird cut to her making grilled cheese, and Kevin asks her what she would do if she won the lottery. She gives every single one of the most generic answers you could, but the important one about giving back was shared by Benny, so that's some good reinforcement. Kevin then says that he needs a girl like Stacy, and she is rightfully mad that Kevin is coming off like Stacy is his second choice, considering that they've known each other for years, and, oh, he didn't know his true feelings yet, is a corny excuse, but he kisses her and she's cool with it, so it really doesn't matter what I think. There's a canoodling scene between them, and because Stacy makes sure to use a condom, that's supposed to know that she's not after him for the money. We've been through this Mad Times movie, we know. But before anything can happen, Stacy's mom comes home, and because this is a good Christian household, there will be no canoodling until marriage. Once he gets out of Stacy's house, bop! Lorenzo's there, and he steals Kevin's shoes and lottery ticket. The next day, he wakes up in Ice Cube's house, who picked him up after getting knocked the fuck out. Then Kevin finds out who took his ticket and goes back to his grandma's house, making up with Benny, and starts moving on Lorenzo. He's asking everybody, the homies, randoms, this little girl, and nobody's seen him. Then he sees this dude with the $5,000 shoes on, tackles him, sees that it's not him, but doesn't question where he got those shoes from. Strange. Then while he's looking around, Sweet Tea comes to have a little chat with Kevin. He goes full mafia man, or Yakuza if you're frisky, about what he'd do to a guy who couldn't pay him back. Now, this would be the time to ask Sweet Tea to help him track down Lorenzo, but hey, that's not what the story calls for, obviously. So, while having a ponder with the homies, Kevin comes up with a plan to get a different lottery ticket with the same numbers and tell Samaj about it because he's a gossip and it'll get around. Now, I don't know how he got this fake ticket from T-Pain and how it's not the same as the OG ticket, but this movie's got like 10 minutes left, so whatever. His plan works, and Lorenzo stops getting a shave to press him about the ticket, and let me just pause the movie here to show you that Kevin would get his ass beat by this dude if not for Sweet Tea coming to save the day, and he gets a good punch and throw in, but Lorenzo grips Sweet Tea's bobas and knocks him out. Kevin tries to fight him, but come on, look at this dude. Lorenzo gets tired of punching him even though he just said, "And I ain't never gonna get tired," and pulls a gun out on him and gets both the tickets. But Ice Cube uppercuts this dude and lays him out. Kevin gets the tickets back, gets that money, and the movie ends with Kevin starting his shoe company and giving back to the community through his new foundation. Alright, now that the story's out of the way, what did I think? Aside from some things like the Asian racism, which is a very small part of the movie, admittedly, that shit still isn't cool, and the super generic premise of the movie, I did really enjoy it. But I think that my enjoyment of the movie comes more from the different actors in the movie than anything else. For me, seeing Charlie Murphy, Mike Epps, and Keith David just look like they're having fun was enough for me. And I think that all the major people that I knew stole every scene that they were in. And waiting to see what they would do next was the best part of the movie for me. That's not to say that people like Naturi Naughton, who played Stacy, weren't good either. I think that every single person in this movie acts well. The only problem is that everyone is just a fucking stereotype, so it's not really that hard to play those types of characters. It sucks, but I do think that the actors help to make the movie way more tolerable than if I just had to read the script. I mean, there's the pastor who's only out for money and not spreading the word of God. There's the hood kingpin. There's the smart, rational girl of the friend group. The religious black grandma. The thug who will not hesitate to kill you. I do think that the comedy in this movie, which is really the selling point anyway, is pretty good. Out of the 3 comedies I've reviewed so far, it's by far the funniest, but I think that might be biased given my predisposition to melanated motion pictures. The only thing that I didn't really like about this movie is the pacing. The movie is only an hour and a half, and it's a straight up comedy for the first hour, then emotional for 15 minutes, and tries to be some combination for the last 15. If there was a better combination of things earlier in the movie, I think it could have worked much better. I still hate it when a comedy tries to have some emotional core just for the sake of it, and it comes off as corny because for the majority of the movie, that wasn't important enough to talk about. This movie also does a thing I usually love, where someone says something or does something, but then it's important later. But just like Bumblebee recently, it's super obvious which things are gonna be those important things. Like when Ice Cube said, the same way you got into this mess is the same way you're gonna get yourself out of it. I know that writing is difficult. I know that creating is difficult. But this formula is so played out with the execution that I'm starting to hate it. Chekhov's gun doesn't always have to just be in your face to work. If they need to do a quick rundown because something in the background was there but not apparent, I'm cool with it, but damn near winking at the camera saying, "Hey, did you see that?" is so annoying. The only other thing that I want to bring up real quick is that Bow Wow acting big and tough during certain parts of the movie is definitely one of the funniest parts, because come on dude, you're not really about it, calm your shit down. But overall, I did really enjoy this movie. I'm glad I checked it out again, and I think that from the era, it holds up. It's not too corny or problematic, but that's subjective. I definitely recommend checking out the movie, especially for the comedic moments, because I tried to keep most of those out just in case anyone still wants to go back and check it out for themselves. But what did you think? Are you happy that it's over, or did you feel lucky that you found the video? Let me know what I should review next, and thanks for watching.